Hey guys, Steve Welch here at Beam Toyota in Nashville. So had a customer ask me a question and I got to thinking, I've never made a video about this, and there's probably more than him that had this question. So standing in front of the Tacoma here, right? So these are both off-roads right here, but there's a very big difference between the two of them, and it's the radio screen. So the radio screen, you can get a 14-inch screen or you can get the 8-inch screen. So it's the same thing with the Tundra, 14-inch screen or the 8-inch screen. Sequoia's question is what's the difference? Which one do I need? Obviously you're the one that's going to answer that question, but go ahead and let me give you some information here real quick about what is going on with these screens in these cars, that you might want one or the other. Get everything fired up here. This is your 14-inch screen, same size that's in your Tundra, same size that's in your Sequoia. It is just it's a big screen. I mean, if we're looking at the size of the Tacoma here, it definitely is huge when it comes to the size on the screen. And there's a lot of people that think that that's actually a negative when it comes to the to this vehicle, right? So you don't have obviously there's nothing else going on the dash usually, right? So you do have a very large screen. If I hit my English button here, you'll be able to see. I can hit setup later. You can get a few things here, but I can show you things like the radio and stuff like that. Anything that you want to do over here. Here's your music. If you're tuning, whatever you want to tune, you can see different things here, right? We'll turn it down for obvious reasons, but you can kind of see all the stuff that you can do in with this radio, right? And then obviously you'll have things like your Drive Connect. You'll have your Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. All those things are going to be available on this, just as they will on the 8-inch screen. Now, the one thing I'll tell you, I do have the 14-inch screen. The one thing that I think is kind of a negative is that, all right, so we're in the middle here and we're driving down a bumpy road and you're trying to hit, and you can kind of get into this. So you end up having to kind of hold it and then kind of hit wherever you're trying to go to. If you're trying to do that, you end up using this a lot up here, just because it's kind of hard to hold your hand whenever you're doing that. I have noticed that to be an issue. So if that's something that would bother you, maybe the 14-inch screen isn't for you, right? But that is something that you can definitely see size-wise. It's pretty big. Obviously you can kind of set up over here if you need to. You can kind of brace yourself. If you're trying to brace yourself, you can do that, of course, right? But I tend to do this and just kind of hold myself down there. That's what I personally tend to do. I like the screen, so that I'm gonna caveat it with that, right? I like the screen, so full disclosure, right? But now let's show you what the 8-inch screen looks like in the white Tacoma next to me here. All right, popping in here, same trim level, of course. You're gonna notice nothing's different with the interior of that, so I wanted to make sure you knew I wasn't jumping trim levels or anything like that on you. So now you can see the 8-inch. Now it does look a little bit different in the Tundra, of course, but premise is going to be the exact same thing, right? So get this one fired up. You're going to be able to see a little bit different. Now you'll notice on the screen, and I'll kind of back up here, it does, some people say this fits the size of the Tacoma better. Obviously the Tundra is a different animal and a lot bigger on the dash, so you can kind of see where we're going here. But and I'll turn the air down here real quick, even though it's really hot. So y'all better appreciate that and subscribe, right? Subscribe for me. Anyway, so if you look over here, you can see, I still would do this to be able to do that, but it's a whole lot easier. You can hit anywhere within this screen pretty easily doing just that. So that's something that, a lot of people, like I said, anything that you're doing within the screen, the radio and all that, you don't have to move it around a whole lot in order to get to the next spot for whatever you're trying to do, right? So that is something that's different with that screen. Like I said, the other thing that people tend to say is in the Tacoma, it's kind of along the lines of everything else that's on the dash. So what do you think? The big screen or the small screen, right? The 8-inch or the 14-inch. So I mean, I can argue for or against both of them for you. I mean, there's not really a wrong answer. It's just more or less what you're looking for. Now, here's the thing: the ones with the bigger screen cost more. right? If you're somebody that is not really entertainment driven, doesn't really need the big screen, things like that, it is going to save you money to be in the truck that I'm in now, right? So you tell me your answer on what you think is better. And let's turn it around too. Tundra, is it different because the Tundra is so big that, you know, the 14 might look a little too big in the Tacoma? That's what some people say, right? So it might look a little too big. Maybe they should have done the 10-inch. Now the RAV4's got a 10-inch. They could have done that one in the Tacoma, but they went all the way to the 14. So what do you think? Should they offer the 10? Hey, all these are questions that are out there. I don't think there's any wrong answers. I'd love it if they had the 8, the 10, and the 14. The problem is you'd have to carry too many trucks when you got that many different radio sizes, I think. But what do you guys think? Steve Welch here at Beaman Toyota, showing you the difference in the 8-inch and the 14-inch screens on your Tundra and Tacoma, and on your Sequoia there too. So tell me what you guys think. Steve Welch, Beaman Toyota, beautiful Nashville. You guys have a great day. It's hot. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.